Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2022 edition of the Musings on 39 podcast. New year, new us. You're joined by me, Tubbs, and I have my esteemed brothers in arms, and to you, my co hosts, Kian, Cam, what's good?
What's up? What's up?
Yeah, I think we can all. The last few months of 2021 was a bit hectic for all of us. And yeah, let's kick off 2022 with a bang.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope that this year has less COVID than previous years. Um, yeah, it's kind of getting a little bit boring, but the world seems to be going back to normal, which is good.
Yeah, it's especially, the only abnormal thing is the fact that Keanu got a job in the meantime.
Yeah, he's entered the financial realm of the world. I'm very, very excited for him, but I'm sure he can elaborate more on his current position.
Nothing to elaborate. All's good on my side. Entered a new chapter of my life. And I thought, let's jump to this whole podcast and just get it going. I want to hear from you guys. New Year's resolutions. Overrated, underrated, worth it, stupid. What's your thoughts? Because obviously, New Year, it's a new thing. Everyone does it every year. So, what's your thoughts?
It's good in principle, put it that way. Whether it's good in practice is a completely different scenario. That's my standpoint. Because often we find that whether it be ourselves or other people, everyone, all of a sudden, Christmas comes, right? And just before you get to like January, in those last few days of December, all of a sudden everyone's on social media, New Year's resolutions, etc., etc. And it's just like, okay, what's different this year from last year almost, or what you're gonna do different? Because I often see people have all these big things, and sometimes people need to remember it's not about how big the goal is. It's about also setting something that's attainable, because you need to almost get into the routine of making sure that you do something before you start going for big things. So that's what I mean. It's good in principle, but you know sometimes I think people overestimate what is physically achievable in a given space of time.
In my opinion, it's easy to really set up a New Year's resolution. However, the most difficult thing is finding that consistency.
Yeah, and the discipline.
Exactly. Like, you can easily just say, I want to start writing or I want to do more art. But the thing is, like, you'll start for the first week and then you'll just slowly work yourself out of that momentum, out of that whole new mindset that you're trying to set up for yourself. It's always such a massive challenge. I mean, I have attempted multiple times to create a New Year's resolution. It does tend to work, however, it doesn't work out exactly when I anticipate I would start.
You know, often we forget that humans are creatures of habit, right? So, for example, it's going to be not impossible, but incredibly difficult. For example, let's say you weigh X, right? And let's say X is on the plus side of the scale. Okay, because most people's New Year's resolutions as of late tend to be fitness inclined or physique inclined, because we live in a social media age. So now this plus size person, plus size meaning on the heavier side of the scale, wants to be on the minor side of the scale, so go in the opposite direction, lose weight. That comes with a completely different state of mind. Of course, it comes with eating less food, being more active and whatnot. But you can't expect to go from one end of the scale to the complete other end. It's just not going to happen in what most people are like, no, I want to get there in 6 months or in a year. It takes time. It goes with everything. If you've created a habit, whether that be good or bad, and you want to break that habit, consider how long you've been practicing that habit. That's going to play a role in your adherence to this new goal that you have in plan. But if you've been consistently waking up late for the past year, 2 years, don't expect to wake up at 5 o'clock every morning and not be tired, for argument's sake. But that's just my points on the whole discipline. And
You have to also be able to understand the difference between work and parties.
I always thought of you if when you work hard, play hard. But what is hard work? A builder, take a builder. They work what? 18-hour days? That's hard work. Someone doing an accounts job, that could also be hard work. It's all dependent on perspective, you know. So it's only an individual can know whether they've worked as hard as they can, but a lot of the time people cut themselves short on how hard they really can push themselves because of comfort, and that's just the society that we live in at the moment. But I want to hear from Keanu. So you brought up this question. Was there anything that's happened, or just curiosity, or something that you saw that made you think, are these things good? Are they not good? Do they have a place in society? What's your standpoint?
To be honest, I personally enjoy it, and the reason for asking is I actually saw last year's resolutions that I made, and having a look at it, I realized okay, I didn't achieve some things, I did achieve others, and then there were things which are completely out of my life. So it's something where I thought, yo, I want to grow in this direction or this project, but then maybe this project came to an end due to any reason, whatever the reasons were. And I'm thinking to myself, yo, I wanted to grow this, and that was my New Year's resolution, but I didn't even make it until June because the project came to an end. So that's where I was thinking, like, obviously, as you mentioned, the physique thing, January, everyone's in the gym, everyone's taking out new memberships. Goes well for a month, maybe a month, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then they slowly filtrate out, and most of the people don't come back. There's some new guys that stick, and some ones that just never come back. So yeah, that's the only reason I brought it up. I wanted to see, is it like, is there a point in doing it, or is it just like just another cliche thing that people just do?
Well, I have a question. You know how in school we get learnt about how to set, I think it's smart goals. I think sometimes people forget to do that when they set New Year's resolutions, because you also need to be careful not to set a goal that's so easily attainable that you could do it in a week. But you also need to be careful not to set something that's like way out there. Like we often talk about football, and we have teams with probably New Year's resolutions who are like, no, you know, we want to do this. If we look at like Norwich, for example, they wanted a New Year's resolution was probably at the start of the season was, you know, we actually want to stay up this year. But you can't do that when you don't change anything.
I see you're already starting to take digs at Arsenal.
No, but my point is that I wasn't trying to get onto football. My point was just that it happens everywhere. It's not just like Johnny over there has these big goals and now someone's telling them you need to change your world. It's meant to be difficult, people. If you want anything worthwhile in life, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get given it on a silver platter. And if you do, you're not going to appreciate it. And no, I'm not saying that
Yeah,
people
the
who are fortunate in life and whatnot don't appreciate the things that they have. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just generalizing here.
Yeah, look, I know you're going on about hard work and determination and whatnot, and I think you are correct, and that's what you need. You need discipline and whatnot to achieve your goals. But I think it is very difficult when you mentioned there to get home and maybe watch some Netflix or whatever. But like I can only imagine if you're starting to work very early in the morning or whatever, and you work the whole day and you get home. And now also there's a lot of, how can I say, external factors that can cause a problem, because possibly you've got a wife and children at home, and now you work until 5, you get home, or you go straight to gym, you're there until, let's say, 7. You get home, you greet your kids, your wife, you spend a bit of time with them. Next minute, you still need to eat. In that time, you probably need to get to bed because you need to start work again. Next time you look, it's past 10 and you've spent no time. So I think it's very difficult to find the right balance of achieving your own goals. If it is, we're talking about.
I agree, but then you have to talk about priorities.
the thing is that a lot of things need to fall into place.
Yes, I agree with that. But the longer you don't look at it, the bigger the problem becomes.
Yeah, but it's also what you want. As you said, like, in the end of the day, I think sure a lot of people want to look better and be more fit. But also, are you going to give up 2, 3 hours of gym time, for argument's sake, and not spend it with your family and your children? Or are you going to rather work on yourself for those 3 hours and not spend time with your wife and children? So it's a very, look, I'm generalizing about one specific thing.
So let's just remove the whole gym factor. Let's say someone wants to change something. Tell that person then stop buying KFC, stop buying McDonald's. But then they're gonna say to me, yeah, but I work from 9 to 5, and then I don't have time to cook when I get home, so I swing past McD's. What the point is that if you want it, you can find a way. It's not
No,
going to be
you're
easy.
right there. You're right there, but dude, I think then you gotta find that nice line between like just having or enjoying your life, or actually just tormenting yourself until you achieve it. So it's a very thin
Exactly.
line.
But that depends on what you want, does it
Well,
not?
it's a very thin line.
Norwich want to win the Premier League, but that's not going to happen in the next 20 years. Unless something drastically changes.
No, I get where you're coming from, dude, but I'm just
But you
saying,
know what?
like,
They can try by investments and whatnot.
yeah, but it's such, as I said, it's so hard because I feel like it's a unique situation. That's why New Year's resolutions are so.
So then tell me, if let's take person X, right?
Mm,
Let's stereotype now. They're male. They a father of two, and they work Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. Right now, I don't know. What do you think? Does he drop the children off at school? Maybe he does. So then why not go to gym from 5 to 6?
right, you go to gym 5 to 6, cool, you're awake, ready
Yeah.
for the day. He at 1 o'clock. Now you're not doing your work properly because you've been awake since 4 a.m. because you need to do your gym. So then you're thinking to yourself, oh, now what can I do? Maybe drink an energy drink or do this so I can just get some energy going. Again, there's probably other alternatives, but I'm just saying now I'm tired, I'm messing around at work, I'm getting shat on at from my boss. Now you go home, now you like, okay, do I go gym again? Do I go home to my folks?
Don't you think that's just an excuse?
I would say it is an excuse, but it also is a reality, unfortunately, because
There's a clip of Kobe Bryant, and this one guy was like this. Not everyone's. I don't know, so don't quote me on it. But it's difficult for people who don't have talent or whatnot to reach that. And he says, I think you're just talking about an excuse. That man was always there before and after. Even big boy Ronaldo. People say how he's at practice an hour before, and he's there an hour after a whole day of training. You don't think that man wakes up some days and he's like, yo, my body's sore, my body's tired. But you don't get to be the goat, for argument's sake, if it's not that. What it's a mentality game.
I think that there's a thin line, dude. I really do, and that's why I'm not for or against one or the other. That's the problem. It's not like I'm saying, oh, you are wrong. You need to understand that. I'm just saying that, like, there's unfortunate obstacles in the way which can cause an issue. That's all I'm saying. Like, as I said, one thing leads to another. You give up one. So it's the same, like, okay, I want to stay up tonight till 1 a.m. to watch Liverpool play against whatever. Sorry, I'm talking about football again, but okay, cool. I watch the game, I enjoy the game. I have to consciously know tomorrow I might not be peak performance level because I've only gotten 4 hours of sleep. And that's where I'm kind of, you got to kind of sacrifice, okay, but then if I do something wrong tomorrow or something does not work out, then you have to think to yourself like, yo, if I just maybe didn't watch the last 5 minutes or didn't have to wait for the managers to say something before I went to bed, then maybe you're like, okay, next time just watch the game and then go to bed. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not necessarily an excuse, but it's you realizing like, yo, I need to find a new way to solve my problem because this isn't working for me. As I said, I'm not for or against what you were saying. Like, I'm all for hard work and discipline and achieving your goals, but I also know like a lot of people can't achieve it because like life changes, life moves. So some people fall out of the cycle of discipline and routine.
You guys are completely right. It is entirely a mentality thing. However, though, it's also a matter of what resources you have to achieve these goals.
Well, look, you're correct, Tubbs. I think Look, we're going down a rabbit hole here from a simple question. That's why I was just saying, like, I get the people that don't make their New Year's resolutions of becoming these physique animals because life happens, man. Sometimes if you don't go today, you don't go tomorrow, then suddenly it just becomes easier not to go.
Yeah, look, I think just for everyone listening, we are generalizing here more towards the fitness side. We're not saying that everyone's New Year's resolutions have to be fitness inclined. It's just merely an example.
It's, generally almost everyone in the
Yeah, I mean,
world's kind
fitness
of
is popping
thing.
off all around the world at the moment, and rightly so, especially with the rise of COVID, people wanting to be healthier and whatnot. But it just starts somewhere.
You're making good and valid points here, but you also have to you can't forget one important thing is that's also time. You can't go in and expect to see changes after a couple of weeks.
Rome wasn't built in a day, so don't expect to go back to where you were happy with yourself like this. It is a process and it's a journey. And I know people get all worked up with that whole word journey, but you need to, you're always improving. You're always setting new goals, new targets. Life is so big and so beautiful. Like, why am I only limiting myself to one thing? But we just keep on finding the same old thing. It's the same with like certain football teams and whatnot. Same old transfer strategy, directors in charge, and then the fans keep thinking a different result is going to change or going to happen.
I'll go back to my previous statement that it also depends on what resources you have to your disposal. But moving moving into football, if you guys are keen to, or if you have anything else to say about the previous topic.
I guess just to sum it up quickly, and that simple yes no answers will be appreciated, is New Year's resolutions needed.
Yes.
Yes. And yourself?
Cool. Sweet. Thank you.
And yourself, you.
Yourself? No,
And
you
you.
can't just ignore the question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear it. What was the question?
Yes, it's the same question you asked us, but directed at
Oh,
you.
now you're reversing it. Uno reverse. Do I think it's necessary? Yes.
Talking about people doing it again and again. In the past week or so, we've seen certain football teams do things again and again and again and expecting a different answer. Most notably, we have, it brings great joy to my heart to say this, but we have the Evertonians who seem to be going around and around in a circle and nothing seems to be changing.
Yeah, but you guys sabotage him. You guys got the whole,
No, 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 no.
uh, you guys got the inside man. You
You're
know what I
saying
mean? You got
Rafa.
Rafa in
You
there.
say Rafa kamikazed himself just to bring down Everton.
Rafa's gonna get a statue
I
outside
hear
of
he's linked to
Anfield,
Newcastle, by the way.
but that would be like the second
Yeah, but he
time.
shouldn't have left in the first
I
place.
mean,
It was, what's that chap, Mike Ashley.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing Rafa back at Newcastle. They were a
I
pretty
think he'd be
decent
better than
team.
Eddie Howe right now.
Well, especially now the fact that he could get an actual budget,
Yeah.
proper transfers coming in. Like Digne, that's something that I could never expect
Do you think that whole situation with Digne, do you think that was between him and Rafa, or do you think he was taking a dig more at the board?
at the board. I
Okay.
think it was definitely aimed at the board.
Okay. And my fellow Scouser, Keanu, what's your opinion on the whole Everton thing?
Yo, man, I think there's core problems throughout the team. I think the recruiting is probably the thing that's let them down the most. I think the overspending on like Iwobi, Sigurdsson, Allen and Co and whoever more. James. Oh gosh, it's been a reject hub, and unfortunately everything has just not changed, or everything's come to an end now with Rafa, which I had high hopes for. And there are some shining lights in that team, like I think Calvert Lewin's decent. I think Richarlison on his day can be decent. So can't say I feel bad.
Do you think Everton impulse buy too much?
I don't think they're impulse, but I just don't know why they pay the fees. Like the one that jumps to mind is the Sigurdsson one. I think they paid 50 million.
Oh, Sigurdsson's a good player, bro.
Isn't he still like in jail?
Hey,
On that
hey.
topic,
Too
you paid
soon.
50 million for a pedophile.
But that's what Everton. That's the British tax. They signed him from Swansea.
No, I don't think it's the tax necessarily. I just think that's the.
I think if he signed for Liverpool, because we were interested in him at the time, I think he would have been a completely different player.
Yeah, I mean, Cam did mention it. British tax is definitely like that was the whole case with
But it's
Sigurdsson.
even the case with Grealish. I mean, Grealish is nowhere near 100 million.
He's not worth 100 million, not a chance. I mean, it's also the same with
Is
Maguire.
it tax or is it just inflated Premier League market?
Rated
It's
Premier League
inflated
market. And tax plays part of the role, but it's definitely the market. And I mean, like, if you're a smaller team, why wouldn't you? Like if you're Burnley, you just sold Wood for 25 million
See, that's
pounds.
ridiculous for me, dude.
You give me 25 million and I'll go get you someone. I'll go get Nkuku from, is it Salzburg or Leipzig?
Leipzig.
But my point is that we paid 30 million for Thiago.
28 million, just saying.
28, okay, cool. Well, my point is that, like, Digne signed for what, 23 million? He in the Premier League market was less than Wood.
Yeah, look, I don't know how I feel about him, but that is fine. That's a different conversation. We focus on Everton now.
Ollie ran circles around United, so.
Let me quickly ask you guys something. But are you guys a little bit bitter about Coutinho to Villa?
Now you also going off the topic. I love it.
But it's just a quick question. But also like I'm also hearing rumors that we might be seeing Suarez at Villa.
All power to it, man. Stevie G knows what he's doing. I'm a big fan of Coutinho. I think he'll bring a lot of experience, a lot of talent. He's that talisman who can receive the ball in his side of the half and run it into the opposing side. He can hit one from range. He can create. Pretty much has it all. That's why he's called the magician. So, and I think bringing someone like a Suarez who could probably mentor someone like a Watkins, I think more power to it. I mean, if Villa get a good run of results, now that's a big if, they could maybe sneak Conference League.
Talking about Conference League, how the did Tottenham not make it through? I know they had a lot of postponements of matches.
So just on that, Keanu, is it just me or is this Tubbs like a little child with ADHD, bro? He can't focus on one thing. He'll like look at something and then he'll see something else and be like, oh.
There's been so much that happened in the past few months, and we've been away from each other for quite some time. So hey, of course I'm gonna be like jumping around asking questions.
Keanu, what's your opinion?
On Tubbs jumping topics, when I'm trying to focus on Everton, but yeah, I'm assuming we're talking about Villa now. So Aston Villa, look, I had a private discussion with you, and I still feel that way. I've mentioned to Cameron that I didn't say they are. I'm saying I hope that Aston Villa don't become a reject hub like Everton are, because I just don't want their transfer models to go down the drain. Because Coutinho, to me, he is fantastic to watch. However, he's been a reject at Barcelona. Unfortunately, you can say what you want.
I don't think he was managed properly at Barca.
No, that is true. I think there was no.
He wasn't played in the right position.
No, there was no position for him. But irrelevant. Long of the short is that it was unfortunately a reject. He got moved out after there was tons of money spent on him. And I'm hoping from the first few minutes I've seen of him at Villa, entertaining, exciting. I think he got an assist and he scored. Or he might have been involved in the first goal and then the second goal he scored. So, I'm hoping it works out for him. As Cameron said, it would have been nice to see him in red. But I think the Liverpool are not the happiest with him leaving or when he left. So I'm not saying the supporters. I think the management of the club are probably not the most ecstatic with him.
But you can't exactly be upset with him for the way he left. I mean, it wasn't the same. I mean, you could argue that the way
No,
that
but they left
Sterling
in
left.
the same manner. Coutinho faked like a back injury.
Pretended to be injured.
Back injury, so he doesn't play.
And we were having a good run in the Prem. and we were having a good run in Champions League. I think if Coutinho had have been in our team for that Champions League final against Madrid, we probably would have won.
Look, as I said, I'm not gonna comment on that or statement. I'm just saying, like, I think there's a little bit of unwritten beef.
But also, I think just going back to the core of this, I mean, if you look at what Villa have done, even under Dean Smith, they were very clever with recruitment. Look, they've been unfortunate with injuries to Leon Bailey. Matty Cash has been absolutely incredible.
He's been.
I do think they are soon going to have to invest in centre backs. But you see how they sign people and it works. Look at Everton. I don't think that they've ever fully backed a manager. Ever since Moyes left, they've always been trying to plug a gap, trying to use a model. And I just think the owners are just as useless as United's owners. But United owners tend to stick with the manager for some time and back them somewhat in the transfer market. Whereas, and that has its own pros and cons. But I mean, this with Rafa and Ancelotti.
The best guy that was there was Martinez.
You think Martinez is better than Moyes?
I don't think he was better than Moyes. I just think that he was after Moyes, and he's probably been the best.
He was the most consistent of all of
I
their
agree.
managers.
But then what's changed then? I think that I think what's happened is that the people at the top think that you can just throw money and you get good players. I don't think under any circumstances, why would you sign Alex Iwobi from Arsenal? Probably the best signing that they probably got during this whole time was probably Yannick Bolasie from Crystal Palace, but then he was just plagued with injury from the moment
Yeah,
he
and
arrived.
then yeah, he was also not very good when he did play. So
But they also didn't plug the gap that Lukaku left behind. You sign Rondon, who's been playing in the Chinese league for who knows how many years. There's no logic to what they do, but then yet their best player they let go for 23 million.
Oh, you're
I
definitely
think
right.
you're right.
Yeah.
I think the best signing for me that they've made this season, which has also kind of fallen off a little bit now, was Damari Gray.
Who do you have else there to support him? Alan is like a shadow of his former self when he was at Napoli.
I don't even know if he's still at the club.
Pickford, I've never seen someone who's so inconsistent in my life. In an Everton shirt, it's like he's blind and an amputee. Nothing against amputees. But when he plays for England, all of a sudden he's an absolute god of goalkeeping. Doesn't make sense. There's so many different things that other teams have done, but Everton just sit there and they just stick with the same transfer model.
You can also say they mess up the entire thing with Rodriguez, with James.
Yeah, that was a big,
That was
that
a
was a
big
bad.
balls up. That was a very big balls up.
Yeah, they were chasing shirt sales and not quality on the field.
And I mean, there were sparks of brilliance, but like you almost felt like it was a marriage that was always going to end up in divorce.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he fell off. I don't know if he was ever good. That's the
Well,
worst
but
part
that's
of
the
everything.
thing. Like,
Because
do they hype buy? That's what I said earlier. Do they hype buy? Because now, at the end of halfway through the season, right, coming up this year, at the end of the year, we're going to have the World Cup. So the next January transfer window, how many teams are going to hype buy just because of the World Cup?
that's true.
It just doesn't make sense to me. It genuinely does not make sense to me how they can be that.
Yeah, I think the long and short, I think there's fundamental problems from the top to the bottom in the place, and I think it truly
Yeah.
does need sorting out. And I think the worst probably the transfers and the fees they've paid. I think that's
Do
where
you
the problem
think it's
really comes
because
in.
Everton like to think that they're an elite club, but they're really not? It's like the whole
I think there are
goal
big clubs.
setting thing. It's like someone saying they want to become this absolute juggernaut in the space of a year, but are you there?
Now, look, it starts with producing talent from the academy. It starts with producing the right performances, and then you can go on. You need to get the right recruitment. You need to get the right staff. You need to get the right structure to become a champion. And I think, well, not even a champion, just a contender or a top five or top eight club.
Do you think luck is part of it?
I think circumstances and knock-on effects around you definitely. For example, if I think about that Leicester season when they won, they were brilliant, but nothing against them. They didn't get much points. It's just everything around them was very bad. But that's what I'm saying. I think they just need a break. They need two signings that are just different, world class that
But
can
my
set
point is
them
that you
apart
can't
from.
only just get two signings if the remaining nine players on the field are absolute garbage.
No, that's true, but as I'm saying, it starts from the bottom. You need to kind of feed your own team with academy products. Then you need to recruit correctly and not spend 50 million on a pedophile, and then continually purchase the correct players. Like how many times when we signed maybe Mane and Salah, I'm talking now Liverpool unfortunately, but when we signed them, I was like, oh gosh, 20 or 30 million for some oak that used to play for Southampton and another oak that's a Chelsea reject. Wow. And then look now it's probably the best players in the world, and I adore them, and you adore them, and many people do.
Yeah.
And it's just about doing the right thing. If I look at Liverpool linked with Jared Bowen last transfer window, I was like, oh gosh, Jared Bowen, Hull City Oak that's joined West Ham. And now look at him. He's
Mm.
great to watch. He's brilliant. And it's just about, how can I say, scouts or recruiters, whatever you want to call them, are seeing the
Yeah.
right stuff or seeing something that the local Oak at home can't see. So,
No, I suppose so. But
but yeah, I
Chance,
think
what's
that's the
your
main issue. I think
standpoint?
they're rotten.
Again, all down to the recruitment. If your manager does have a vision, that's definitely a positive.
Tell me then. I put this question out to both of you then. You guys are the Everton board. Let's say you are competent and just. You have an open wallet for the transfer market. What do you do? Who are you going to sign, and who would be, if you had to sign one player for this manager or whatnot, who would it be? So, who would the manager be to rescue Everton, and who's the one player who you'd want in that Everton team to prevent the same old, same old?
Frank Lampard should be the next manager. I mean, you saw what he was capable of doing before he went to Chelsea, and I think Chelsea was just too big and too quick for him. Managing Everton would be ideal for him. It would be a good step up and not too much pressure, club legend and all of that by Chelsea.
Okay, who are you going to sign?
They're missing someone who can really fill the shoes of Sigurdsson. Say a decently priced attacking midfielder, maybe look in Serie A. I mean, not Serie A, in Ligue 1. Where's it again? At Lille, they have a pretty decent attacking midfielder who can also play in front by the name of Jonathan David. Relatively fairly priced, about 23 mil. Should be something that Everton should be able to afford. Kian, what's your...
To wrap it up, who I would get in? Damn. I'm trying to think what they need, bro. I was thinking Wayne Rooney, and I think Jesse Lingard.
Why Wayne Rooney? Sorry.
Wayne Rooney, I think he's not a bad manager. I think he knows the club from a young age. I think he can bring that knowledge and his playing experience from United and Everton and MLS, whatever, into the team. I think Everton need to start young or younger with a manager and kind of grow with him instead of trying to find shortcuts. And I think Lingard, I don't think they will sign him, but I just think him himself just needs a change. And I thought West Ham should have signed him. And I think he should have left West to go to West Ham. And I don't know if that door will still be open. So I think if you want to maybe get a little bit of a good attacking midfielder, then why not buy him? Because I don't know how much. I think he won't cost too much. But if you don't want to be buy in the Prem, I think you can start scouting abroad. I think there's many options. It just depends what position. But I just thought of him because he really needs to find a different club.
Newcastle all the way.
Sure, that's all from my look. We can dive the whole day into Everton, and I think there's lots more that's technical and in depth we can discuss. But yeah, that's all I have from that.
In my opinion, though, Jesse Lingard, he's not really a playmaker like a Sigurdsson would be. But in any case, Cameron, let's just throw the question back at you.
I got to agree with you, Subs. I'd go for Frank over Wayne. I just think Frank, he just comes across to me as being more suited for the job. Wayne Rooney, he's been doing well with Derby, but it's also his first managerial gig. So I would say Frank. I think he'd be up for it as well. And I think, like Jonas said, you could have he would grow with the squad. And the signing that I would get, I'd probably start looking at like someone like trying to convince like an Yves Basuma or an Ismailia Sarr, those kind of players to come and be the the pivot point of a changing team, a changing philosophy. And yeah, I think that's what Everton need to do. They need to also understand it's going to take a long time to fix the mistakes that have been made in the past. But if they want it, they'll get it there. It's like the whole New Year's resolution thing. If you want it badly enough, I'm pretty sure the positives will come your way.
Appreciate your guys' time today. It was lovely to be part of the podcast once again. And I think it's going to be a great 2022 for the Musings team and for hopefully for each of us individually.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that, Kian. I wish you both also a good. I mean, we're a bit late in the year, but I really hope to the both of you all the best, and to our listeners out there as well. Hopefully, your 2022 will also be fruitful. But with that, we've come to a close of the first episode of the Musings on 39 Podcast 2022 edition. If you liked what you heard and would like to hear more, you can find our episodes on whichever podcast streaming services you make use of. You can find us also on YouTube. With that, I'd like to sign us off. Thank you for joining us once again. Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheerio.
Peace out.